Welcome back to Rock Guitar Confidential with Scott and Ryan. This episode is for all of you who wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning, go to the mall to get your exercise, or really if you go to the mall at all or remember what a mall was. Are you angry at those kids that are hanging out on your front lawn? And do you want to know what they're listening to? Well, today you're going to find out. Stay tuned.
I think we'd be way better off if all wrestlers were very literal. Their names are just
Bleed.
exactly like Tom Bum Knee or something like that.
What if wrestler Mike Bleed were a hemophiliac?
Well, I'm a huge fan of Iron. Good, that would work. You know what I mean? It'd be awesome, man.
Like that British band Irony Maiden.
That's true. All their songs have a twist that you didn't see coming. That's why they're Irony Maiden.
I thought this song was about world history, but no, it's about math.
Also, they're liars. They're not maidens at all. What's going on? You think you're going to see some chicks on a show, but no, it's a bunch of dudes. So you get called Iron Dudes, not Iron Maidens.
Yeah, I'd never expect to see chicks in an Iron Maiden show.
No, I would never. I'm sure it does happen. I'm sure it does happen.
It's probably happened once.
Yeah, no, dude. Have you ever seen those videos from like South America? You know, there's some women there. Yes, they're girlfriends of the dudes who drag them there. I'll give you that.
Yeah, it's kind of like being. It would have been kind of like being at a Rush concert. They're sort of. They're the metal Rush.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Because they're got the big signs and stuff, and people who worship them and see all the shows and follow them around. And stuff.
Yeah, and the song. Seriously, if Iron Maiden wrote a song called "By Tor the Snow Dog," you'd be like, "Yep,
that sounds like Iron Maiden."
Sounds like Iron Maiden.
It's totally
yep,
true.
You got it.
I think we got something. I think that's something that should have happened. It's a missed opportunity, really, for Rush. They should have been ghostwriting all of Iron Maiden songs this whole time. You know, it'd be great.
Maybe Neil Peart was.
Yeah, maybe it was
the whole time. Can you imagine Steve Harris and Neil Peart together writing songs?
I can't imagine Nico McBrain trying to play Neil Peart songs. So.
Well, I can't imagine that. I'm just talking about the lyrics.
Yeah, I mean, I think
that's all.
Bruce wrote all the lyrics, even the ones with Paul Diano. Bruce wrote all the lyrics. I'm sure in his mind. You know?
Right.
Even 20 years before, that was me too. I wrote them then. I was in Sam Hain or whatever his name of his band was before.
Samson.
Was it Samson?
Yeah,
okay.
Sam Hain was Glenn Danzig.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's the comedy portion of the intro. Welcome back to Rock Guitar Confidential with
Scott Allen and
Ryan Bowe. And again, this is just a forum of two people.
Yes. Which is a Greek forum. I think that was only two people. I'm pretty sure.
Where we're going to talk about all things rock music and music construction and really just share our perspective on a variety of matters.
Musicians life, like working musicians' life, what the kind of trials and tribulations of being a musician are, and also just comments on pop culture and pop music. Popular music, the kind of where we're at, the desert we're in now, sort of of popular music, which brings us to today's topic, which we've actually taken two swings at before, and that is going to be, Ryan, what's the topic today?
The topic is what the kids are listening to.
And there's no greater authority in what kids listen to than two dudes in their 40s. I'm telling you right now, we know.
Yes,
we know of what the kids.
But two dudes in their 40s who teach music full time.
That's true, and we're around teenagers all the time.
And they ask us to learn their songs.
But sometimes, I've actually found the vast majority of kids in between 10 and 20 are into the classic music. They want to listen to AC/DC, Rush, Van Halen, Metallica, Guns N' Roses. They kind of want to know that stuff because it's so much cooler than what's going on now.
Yeah, huge Rush on Master of Puppets lately. Thanks to
and Guns N' Roses too, because of Thor. There's been no run of Guns N' Roses too.
I guess that's right. But Sweet Child of Mine is always hot.
It's kind of ubiquitous, huh? Yeah.
Do you notice that certain songs they come in cycles in terms of requests?
I don't know that I've ever experienced that necessarily. I feel like there's certain songs that are like staples that everyone wants to learn, like the Stairway to the Heavens of the world, Crazy Train, Guns N' Roses, like Sweet Child of Mine, Welcome to the Jungle, anything by AC/DC. Those are songs that have a shelf life that's unbelievable.
Oh, absolutely. I'd say every 8 to 12 months, I get a group of students who don't know each other or go to the same school, and this is the teenagers, folks, that just have to learn Say It Ain't So by Weezer.
That's really interesting. I don't think I've literally, in my entire life as a guitar instructor, I don't think I've ever had someone request a Weezer song.
Oh my God.
It's true. It's weird.
Dude, I've got one student who he's really talented. he's almost so talented. It's hard to get him to practice fundamentals because he'll just go home and just try and learn a song by ear, which, hey, that's head and shoulders a better situation than I didn't pick it up all week.
Yeah, or I just looked at the case when I went home and then picked up on the next day. Yeah,
yeah. Him and his brother have back-to-back lessons, and his older brother goes first. Now, I'm still leaving the studio door open for most in-persons, especially if I don't have neighbors.
Yeah.
Since the pandemic, plus the ventilation's just... The air conditioning's just better that way.
You should also mention that you guys give lessons inside of the bottom of a coal mine too. That's part of it.
Yes, absolutely.
So, I mean,
it's sort of like it's
I'm actually surprised that's up to OSHA code that you guys can do that. But
I feel a kinship with the engineers that worked on the Titanic.
Yeah, it's true. Just down there in steerage.
Down there, down in steerage, but feeding coal into the boilers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And so.
And by coal, you mean the remains of crate amplifiers that somehow have survived to this time.
Yes, people's crushed hopes and dreams.
Just right into the fire.
Right into the fire, yeah.
That's what should happen, yeah.
As Don Dawkins said,
into the fire.
Yeah.
That's true. And then...
Right. And so...
I think he's singing Heaven Sent. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. It's Heaven Sent.
Yep.
When the rest of the band kicks the backing vocals, then you know what song. It's like, oh, that's the song.
It, yep.
That's the one. Oh, cool. Sorry,
oh my God.
I'm disrupting you right now.
No, that's great. I taught some Dawkins this week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I don't know how Dream Warriors came up, but I digress. And so while I'm teaching the older brother, which he's listening to some different stuff. He's into like Nine Inch Nails, and that's fine because there's some guitar in there too.
That's some industrial stuff. Yeah.
He's into Pink Floyd. He's down to put the headphones on and listen to an album start to finish.
Wow,
so,
that's some progress right there.
Absolutely. But I'm doing my best to. I always ask, hey, what are you listening to this week? Actually, I ask all of my students that periodically, like at least once a month.
Yeah.
What are you listening to? Every lesson starts with, so how are things going musically?
Yeah.
I used to ask, how's the guitar playing going? But now I ask a much more broad question to just see what comes out.
Yeah.
And then, so what are you listening to lately? And 40% of the time, I don't know.
I was going to say, what do you do with that? I don't know.
I never didn't know.
I never. You know what's funny? I would ask people questions like, "Hey, like when they first start, what kind of music do you like to listen to? What kind of styles do you like to hear?" And they give me a blank stare. And I'm like, "How do you not know what style? I mean, do you like rock, pop, blues? Like, I don't know."
If my teacher asked me that question, I might say I don't know, but I would have meant Ozzy Osbourne.
Yes.
I would have meant Randy Rhoads.
Yes. We know it's funny though. It's like I keep telling like, dude, when I was your age, I can not only tell you the kind of music, I could tell you like 50 bands immediately off the top of my head. I could tell you what kind of guitars they play, what strings they use, who the guitar techs were.
Oh, without a doubt.
You know what I mean?
Without a doubt.
It's amazing.
I had every stat in my head like a sportscaster.
Yeah, it was like the back of a baseball card or something. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yes, sir. And
it's crazy how that works. Yeah.
It's crazy like a train.
It's true. It's off the rails.
It is off the rails.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that's how it goes. So I'm trying to, when you have that moment where you've got to quickly learn a song, flip it around because you've got a half hour.
Yeah.
So I'm going to listen to the chord progression. I'm going to quickly deduce what's the most logical path for playing this.
Yeah, on their guitar and standard tuning. And,
right. Yeah. Just to get the ball rolling with the students. And I always tell them, look, this is our interpretation now, because I want them to see how I'm transcribing the song so they can ultimately do it for themselves.
Yeah.
And we're going to use the reason we're learning that song is so that we can anchor all of the fundamental concepts we've talked about up until that point to that song.
Yeah. You can see how it's used in the real world. Yeah.
So while I'm listening to the song, I can hear his brother out in the lobby just repeating the solo from Say It Ain't So. Yep. And then it starts again. For a half hour.
Yeah.
To the point where it's distracting. And I'm so torn because I get what he's doing. And man, if your student's in the lobby playing, he's not cramming because he didn't practice. He just loves to play.
Yeah, he likes that part. He feels good about it.
And he's doing the work to get better at it, but god damn it, I'm trying to listen to this other song.
Yeah, and just shut up over there.
Anyway, so that's
your happiness means nothing.
So that's a bit of a tangent, but yeah, Saying Ain't So is one of those songs that cycles through, and Weezer isn't totally my favorite, but big guitar sound, catchy songs, they certainly
Hey man,
are
they
not...
covered Toto's Africa, so I got some respect for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely. They did the soundtrack to the new Bill and Ted's movie.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It was supposed to be a dedication to that era of music. I don't think it...
I mean, Weezer is a
whatever.
band that just doesn't have the skill, and they came from a different era. They don't really have. They're not legit
Yeah.
for that kind. I mean, they might like that music. I always think that's interesting. People who grew up in the '80s, who were successful '90s bands, who say that they were influenced by these bands from the '80s. I was really into Van Halen and Def Leppard and Whitesnake. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But why is your playing terrible now?
Right.
Like,
why
did you
to get better?
I read a Korn interview where they said that Steve Vai was one of their biggest influences. I'm like, Steve
What?
Vai was your biggest influence? Then why do you suck? Like, I don't
God,
understand.
so
Like,
much.
why are you so terrible if Steve Vai was your big influence? That doesn't make any sense to me.
So bad.
You know, that just kind of, that still boggles my mind when I think, like, wow, you should at least try to be good, man.
They must have thought... We thought the Gem and the RG looked cool, so...
Yeah.
We had Ibanez build some for us with 7 strings, but none of the cool features.
Really could have just had 2 strings on that, just the top 2, and that would
God,
have been
right?
fine. you know?
Remember Presidents of the United States of America?
I don't want to remember that. That was a bad time, man.
Where the band just had 2 strings.
Yep. But Scott Ian did that for a while. Remember Scott Ian from Anthrax had a 3-string, like basically a Les Paul Jr. that he played in.
Did he really? He'd
During
be the
the
guy.
John Bush era of Anthrax when they were doing like Bring the Noise and stuff like that.
And no frets past 12.
yeah,
And just with the
really just
knot.
the first 5 frets
like-
and 3 strings is pretty much. That's all
But
he needed.
Anthrax always had a great lead player in the band.
That's true. And
So that wasn't the ethos of the entire band.
he's
It was
such
just
that pissed
Scott
me
Ian.
off so much at that time. Like, come on, dude, you're like, so when thrash is the best thing, you're just all in it. Thrash guy, give me a Jackson soloist, and then when all of a sudden it's not cool to be a good player, now I just need a 3-string guitar with like a Les Paul Jr. kind of thing. And then once metal is cool again, yeah, man, we're totally going to go back to EVH guitars and Jacksons, and it's like you freaking bandwagon hopper. You know what I mean?
Well, Ian's never been a lead guitar player. He always had Danny Spitz
Yep.
and whoever the new guy is. But those John Corabi albums, wasn't someone playing lead?
Oh, John Bush, right? John Bush, right?
Or John Bush, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, during the
I think
Armored
Danny
Saint
Spitz
John
was
Bush, yeah.
still in that band at that time, I think. And then they had this other
Okay.
guy who's now playing with Volbeat. I can't remember his name, though. And then the guy that's in there now is John Denai, who used to be the lead guitar player from Shadows Fall. He's playing
Okay.
lead guitar for them now.
Hank Sherman was in Volbeat for a while, right?
I don't know.
think-
Volbeat's an interesting band. Actually, we'll talk about
Yeah.
that on a different podcast down
Yeah,
the line.
that is,
so.
and ironically, I had irony maidenly. I reached too far for that one, but I did get a request 2 weeks ago for whatever that Volbeat song is. That's about it's like a woman's name, Lorna something. Fuck, I forget. Anyway,
Jolene is a cover of the Dolly Parton song.
that would make a great metal cover.
That would be.
Jolene, wow. Yeah,
All right, so let's get into
So-
our main thing with today, which is going to be
Okay.
what the kids are listening
Yeah,
to.
what the kids are listening to. So as guitar instructors, we do get song requests from students, and we may handle it a little differently.
Yeah, I mean, my kind of philosophy is I always try and at least somewhat respect where they're coming from musically. I remember having a very distinct memory when I was a kid taking lessons from a jazz player, and I was telling him, oh, I really love Eddie Van Halen and Randy Rhoads and Yngwie. These are my favorite players. And he's like, well, that's not real music, man. You should really be listening to Joe Pass, and you should really be listening to, Charlie Christian. And I remember thinking, fuck you old cunt, at that time. And I don't want to be that dude to my students. Like, well, that's not real music. You should be listening
Right.
to Rat and Van Halen. It's like, well, I'm going to always respect where they're coming from. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to quash that dreams. But I think as far as the players who are really wanting to be good musicians, the one thing I'm coming up against all the time is what I call the prog boy band.
So this will be the first category of, because there are subcategories
Yeah.
to what the kids are listening to. So let's talk about the prog boy band.
Now, the 2 big ones, maybe 3, depending on how you want to break up, is Polyphia and Sean. But then there's also a subcategory, Tim Henson, who's the leader of Polyphia.
And the leader, as if they're a gang.
Yeah, I mean, he's the leader. He's the one that the cops need to take down.
He's the leader of the pack.
Here's what I will say about this: is these guys are all excellent musicians. They're great players, 100% great players. There's nothing bad about their playing. I can't point anything, and their technique is flawless. They write songs that are very interesting and very musically challenging. That just leaves me cold, though. I listen to what they play, and I just think, why is there no melody here? Why is there no hook?
And that's
why is there no song structure?
It's so much.
It's got this very much I sat in my basement, worked this out kind of vibe to it, which is it's so not rock and roll. It just offends me on a lot of levels. And I think that's my biggest issue. It's not that they're playing in any way poor or that they're not, playing interesting things. They're just not playing good music. That to me is kind of what the bigger issue is. And Polyphia is like that. Sean is like that. Tim Henson, obviously, Polyphia is kind of the same thing.
So let's play a little bit of Polyphia here, and
all right.
we will.
You guys can make up your own minds.
Document our reactions.
For some reason, this starts with a lullaby. I think maybe Ryan and I can do our Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Dude, I wish this were a King Diamond song.
Hey.
Oh, no, it's not.
Yeah, just, you can just feel the groove and melody, It's almost like intentionally falling down a flight of stairs or something.
I feel like I'm watching an episode of How It's Made on the History Channel.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
It's
like I'm watching a factory and it's assembling parts for an IKEA desk.
Very fast and interestingly. And
yeah.
I don't know, man. I feel like part of me is torn. I feel like it's good that there's people playing challenging music.
Sure.
But then part of me just thinks, why can't it be better? Why can't it be like more musical and less just sort of weird abstractions of your musical mind going down these wormholes that don't really lead to great music? You know what I mean? And
yeah, it's the sound of solving a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, exactly. And that it doesn't have any kind of satisfying anything. We keep waiting for a groove to come in or for a melodic part to come in, and it just never happens. It's basically just keeps doing that.
According to the video, they have a drummer.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sure it's all the drums are replaced.
Yep.
Which is fine, but
I just
man, I don't feel inspired to go out into the world.
No.
And maybe that's not the point.
Maybe this is something you do when you're looking through Instagram. You kind of have that going in the background, and it matches your level of focus. You know what I mean?
It's very inward facing.
Yeah. It's very, and you worked it out in your basement or your bedroom kind of music. It's just like, hey man, I spent the last 2 days sitting here working this thing out, and now check out what I did.
Which again, if that were in a different context, I spent hours in my basement working this out. Look at what I did. I can totally identify with that.
Yeah.
But what you did needs to be listenable.
Yeah, it's got to be something that sounds like music. You know what I mean? It's not some kind of weird abstraction. And
it's very angular.
Yeah, and it's also very much about and this is something that a lot of virtuoso guitar playing is guilty of, is where you're so about like, look what I played, not about what does the music do. You know what I mean? And that's a thing that's that's all my favorite guitar heroes. Your Eddie Van Halen's, your Randy Rhodes's, your Warren DeMartini's, your George Lynch's.
Dude,
play great.
Yngwie caught so much shit for quote playing fast.
Yeah.
Or even a guy like Chris Impellitteri, but damn it, the songs were good.
Exactly. The songs were there was always amazing guitar playing going on in those songs, but it was like about the song. The song was the main thing, and the guitar playing was sort of the icing on the cake. It wasn't like the whole cake was just this weird icing. Like you got a bowl of icing, here you go. You know what I mean?
Or in this case, a box full of nuts and bolts and screws.
Exactly.
Like a box of junk that you found in the garage.
It's almost like a bowl of like frozen peas and Captain Crunch cereal mixed in with like some oatmeal. It's like
because no one's ever done that before.
Exactly. Like why is this here? I
spent hours in my basement mixing this
all these
Captain
things,
Crunch with these frozen
all
peas.
These things can be good on their own. Like I don't know why they're all together. It doesn't make any sense here.
Yeah, they're different flavors that don't taste great together.
Yeah.
I don't know. The
other thing about it that offends me too is there's nothing rock and roll about it at all. There's no ballsy attitude. It's really like insular, like looking in, sort of like, look at this cool thing I worked out. It's not like, fuck yeah, let's just do this shit. There's no balls to it at all.
I feel like the band is showing me the A they got on their geometry homework.
Yeah, exactly.
That's impressive.
That is so true.
Good job. But I don't want to think about geometry.
I'm not going to go home and stare at that all day. Like, wow, look at that A. And that
I'm not going to drive to work listening to your geometry quiz.
Yep. And
Yeah.
part of this, I think, is that you and I grew up in a time before the internet existed. And I think we're kind of used to having a thought and then finishing that thought and then starting a new thought. And I think that maybe when you're 19, 20 years old right now in 2022, that you don't have the chance to finish a thought. You're too distracted to ever get through a thought. You know what I mean? I wonder if that's something to it, like just a metaphor for
It
the
must be.
times. You know
I
what mean?
had my good buddy Austin. Here's a shout out to you, Austin, my student. He just turned 18. He's my pal. We hang out. His grandma came to pick him up from his lesson the other day. Of course, I asked him before he left. Hey, so I also ask every student, "What's next for you today?" And then, of course, 40% of the time I get nothing. But
No, but what actually is next? Like, I'm going to walk down the stairs and get in a car and drive
God,
somewhere.
right.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I'm going to exhale,
Yeah.
and then I might brush the hair out of my eyes.
At
and
some point,
then-
I will eat food and sleep. Yeah.
Maybe you're right. And the teenagers. Hey, if there's any teenagers listening, it's up to you guys to save the world. No pressure.
Yep.
Yep.
But
So-
but if it makes you feel any better, every generation who's ever been has tried to do the same thing and failed. So you're going to fail. It's cool.
if there's anything I am proud of our generation for, is we just said meh. We're just, meh. It's like, you guys have to save the world. No.
Yeah.
No.
We're too busy being ironic and distant.
God,
and
right.
No one understands us, so we can't save the world. Why should I save the world when the world doesn't save me? You know what I mean?
Yeah, check out this dress I made out of couch upholstery.
Exactly right. And what's left of my chihuahua who's been dead for 6 months. Why?
Whoa.
How can you judge me, man?
Sounds like you grew up in Texas.
Recycling. No, but Texas. Maybe we're in the skin of the faces of people that they murdered on the
Yeah,
highway
right.
in Texas, right? That's how it works.
It could be chihuahuas,
Yeah,
armadillos,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Distracted
so he
tourists.
says we're going to the cell phone store, and I told him because he needs to get his grandma a new phone. And I said, dude, here's what you need to do. I don't know if you've ever seen those cell phones with the really big numbers, and it's got a little screen just so that you can text.
It's like a real phone, sort of almost.
They're called the jitterbug.
Okay.
Right, or the consumer cellular. It's the cell phone for the senior set. I told him, dude, okay, you're gonna give your smartphone to grandma, and you just need to have a jitterbug.
And he's like,
Trust me.
So what ended up happening? Do you know?
I don't know. I'll find out.
I'm going to
Saturday.
guess that
I
didn't
suspect,
happen.
I suspect grandma got the jitterbug.
Yeah,
but
okay.
he would benefit from just having a jitterbug.
Well, I think everybody would benefit from putting their phone down a little bit. You know, like taking
Oh,
time.
God,
I mean,
right?
I can't tell you how much I'm so grateful when I was a kid that I had time to like swim and then lay on the sun and stare at the sky and just think about things.
Oh, right,
You know, when I
ride
was-
my bike to the creek.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Build a treehouse.
Exactly. That
And-
was
yeah,
so
and,
good.
and
man.
buy oregano from the older kids.
And it's not
thinking
that we
it was
didn't
pot.
have. I was still
Yeah.
go watch movies and play video games and stuff like that too. We had video
Oh,
games when I was a
sure.
kid, but it's like it wasn't like we had a life outside of that. And I think the internet hadn't permeated anything. Well, it didn't really exist when we were kids. So it's one of those things that by the time that if you're 17 in 2020, the internet's everywhere. Its fingers are in every part of your life. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And it's very difficult, especially considering how people are so socialized on social media. They just can't imagine life without Twitter or Instagram, Snapchat.
Yeah.
TikTok. They can't imagine what that must be like. It's probably like saying, "Hey, we used to crap outside in the winter."
Yeah.
It's to them. It's got to be the same.
This Polyphia song, it does not make. If I were a teenager, I would say this doesn't make me want to fucking break shit. It doesn't make me want to drive. It doesn't make me want to.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me want to get together with my
You
friends
go
and go
jump
have
off
an
a
adventure.
cliff into a lake or something like that. It's like it's just like
yeah, or high speed chase trying to get away from the
it
cops.
makes you feel
I mean, all the
anxiety.
stuff.
It's like like
Yeah.
everything's all weird. I don't understand
Ugh.
what's happening. There's no
Right.
resolution anywhere. There's no hooks or
No.
melodies anywhere. What exactly are we doing here? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember trying to work out the first part, I think, of this tune, and it's just a B5 chord.
Yeah.
It's got it's two notes played in the most obtuse way possible.
Yeah, for the sake of being obtuse. It's not
Right.
like it's that. And then, hey, I'm going to try and use open strings everywhere and then harmonics. It's like, that's cool. But I remember Steve I did that like on one song back in like 5 on a song called To Die Is To Live. It was basically the same stuff they're doing now. It's like, I've heard it before. But he did it better. And it
Yes.
wasn't like his whole album had the same kind of shit like this.
Yes, this
you know
is
what I mean?
more like
Yeah.
to die is to live, sounding like you're doing geometry.
Yes, exactly. Live that with the geo life, geometry life, No,
Yeah, this is the theme song for the Geometry Club. It's cool. Yeah.
Now that being said, I feel like
Check out my rhombus.
that's actually sounds a lot dirtier than it is.
It does.
But no, this kind of stuff. I mean, my students who are into to playing guitar well are into this, and I got to tell you, as much as I don't dig it, it's not for me. I'm grateful that there's challenging music that makes them want to practice and get better.
Totally.
Animals as Leaders would be another one that's in that same kind of group. You know, I would say that's that sort of proggy stuff where it's technically very good musicianship and interesting parts, but like it doesn't sound like music. When you step away from it, it's like a bunch of interesting, weird stuff that when you walk away, it doesn't give you any impression of anything.
Yeah,
there's no hook anywhere. There's no melody. There's no choruses, bridges. It's just a bunch of obtuse weirdness.
And I remember going through that phase in my late teens, early 20s, where I wanted to play the most difficult thing possible. I was way into Death, Chuck Schuldiner Death.
Yeah.
Not like all that progressive death metal stuff, and yeah, the vocals weren't what I would typically prefer, but still there was a groove.
Yeah, there is. Testament, same thing. Dream Theater is technical as Dream Theater is. They have like they almost segregate the technical stuff to this little section over here, and then we go back to the chorus and back to the hooks. You know what I mean?
There is a chorus.
There's a chorus and a verse, and there's a breakdown, and sometimes some songs don't have any big crazy instrumental thing. It's just a song. You know, they understand that songs come first, and then they'll throw in this instrumental section because that's part of the identity of that band, much like Rush or Yes would do. You know what I mean? And as technical as that stuff would get, it never lost sight of the song. And but here, I don't think there's really a song to lose sight of. It's just a bunch of ideas. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's totally. It's like you've got your little recorder in your pocket.
Yep.
Here's an idea,
and here's another idea, and I'll piece them all together.
I'll just
and
splice them all together.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know.
That is bizarre.
I mean, I like technical playing, obviously, but it's one of those things that I feel like it should be music. I think this is kind of that same ethos that jazz fusion and jazz, bebop jazz players have. That kind of, I've always struggled to talk to people like that because, like, okay, where's the hooks and melodies? Where's anything that sounds like a song in any of this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I understand what you're playing is very technical and interesting.
Yeah, that's great that you're just playing all the extensions of the chord that would normally go.
Maybe you could try landing on a fifth or a third instead of landing on an augmented fourth.
Here's a flat 5 substitute.
Yeah. It's so weird how that works. Thank you for listening to the Rock Guitar Confidential podcast with Scott and Ryan. Please make sure to rate and subscribe so that you don't miss out on any future episodes that drop. Are you caught up on what the kids are listening to yet? Yeah, it makes me sad too. All right, let's get back to the show. Thanks. I always think like they're so into the weeds of the technicality that you don't step away from it to realize that what you're playing doesn't sound like music. You know what I mean? I look at something like Dreams from Fleetwood Mac, 2 chords and amazing melodies and lyrics, and that song is fucking classic. But we're talking F to G, the entire song. It never changes. You know what I mean?
Totally. You know what? So I've got a good comparison here. So 2 chords. Stand by while I try to. We'll get a better system for playing stuff.
Yes. And that gives the lawyers time to get the cease and desist letters together for us to not play the music.
Yes. Well, while I'm looking up this Fleetwood Mac tune, I put Green Monalishi on the teaching list this week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, of course, the Judas Priest version.
I was going to say Priest version, right?
Yes, but I mean, I did show everybody the Peter Green version.
Yeah.
Actually, this stemmed from my student whose brother practices in the lobby.
Mm-hmm.
He said he'd been listening to some Fleetwood Mac.
Oh, nice.
And it was he had listened to Rumors, and so of course I had to say, dude, you haven't heard Fleetwood Mac.
Well, you've heard the Fleetwood Mac that
Monalishi.
everybody thinks they've heard. You know what I mean? That's Fleetwood Mac's one of those bands that like people don't even realize, like the Scorpions. They don't even realize there was an earlier version. You know what I mean? Like everyone thinks everyone thinks like Blackout. I know, but everyone thinks the Blackout was like the first Scorpions album. You know what I mean?
Dude, when I was a kid, me and my friend thought that instead of I really had a blackout, we thought the lyric was I really had a big lunch.
I really had a big lunch.
Big lunch. Well, we were in 6th grade.
I remember hearing Dynamite. I was watching the Moscow Music Peace Festival concert. And I remember hearing them play Dynamite, and I'm like, Dynamite.
Oh, such a great.
I was like, that Scorpions are a great band.
Hello, Sacramento.
Exactly.
Rock You Like a Hurricane was my first guitar lesson.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. Yeah.
That was literally the first thing I
Well, their
learned to actually
biggest
play on
commercial
guitar.
success was definitely in the 80s. I mean, no one even really, they weren't really, they were kind of almost a cult band in the 70s. You know what I mean? Meaning that they went around and murdered people. That was their thing. That was the cult band.
Oh, well, I mean, the 80s were great for murder.
Yeah. He made people drink Kool-Aid and I guess do something like that.
Okay, so here's an example of a 2-chord song.
Yeah, this is Dreams. This is all killer, no filler. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, listen to all the swells.
Yeah.
And
Listen
then
to the
vocal
melody,
melody.
though. The melody and the lyrics. You know what I mean?
There's a groove, too,
Yep. It's kind of dreamy, too. It has that.
as it should be.
Yeah, you know, it's got that kind of floatiness to it. You know what I mean? It gives you a feeling. You know what I mean?
That's a killer vocal melody.
By a great singer.
Yeah. So this is how you do a 2-chord song.
Yeah.
I'd call this a dynamics tune because it's not going to change when you go to the chorus, right?
Nope.
It's just
The lyric and melody changes. That's it. And there's some cool little secondary guitar parts that get added in there. Here's the arpeggiated part.
We'll let it get to the chorus.
Not a thing. There's no ounce of fat on this song. It's everything is for the
Uh-uh.
song. You know what I mean? It's
And then the song lifts.
yeah. And nothing
Yeah.
changes harmonically. It's exactly the same. See the guitar, the acoustic guitar in the background. That's
Yeah, this is great shit, man.
yeah.
Like, this is the kind of music that gives you chills.
Yep.
Because it's so good.
Yep. And what's amazing about this is not only is it good now, it was good then, and it'll be good 25, 30 years from now too.
Well, totally.
You know what I mean?
And my teenage student is still coming to me saying, "Yeah, I just listened to the whole Rumors album."
Yeah. And then 20 more years from now, someone else will discover Rumors. You know what I mean? And we'll discover Van Halen 1, and we'll discover The Wall. You know what I mean? Or Metallica, Master of Puppets. It's like, you know, those great classic albums, the one thing I would say is they had great songs. You know, that's the number one thing, and it's everything was about. If you listen to what we just listened to on Dreams right now, everything was in service of the song.
Absolutely,
it was about the song way more than anything else. And that doesn't mean there's not room for great playing, because Lindsey Buckingham's a hell of a guitar player.
Yeah.
It's just it's sort of a time and place for everything. Does that make sense? And
Absolutely.
It's not losing focus on what this is about. You know what I mean? But that's also from the mid '70s. Where people were into daydreaming and people were into sort of like, you know, thinking big and we're not as almost
had to use their imaginations.
Yeah.
There was no CGI.
Yep.
There was no Marvel Cinematic
There was
Universe.
3 channels on TV, and you could go watch a movie once in a while. That's basically, and then music was everything. Everyone listened to music all the time. That was basically what it was. I think that's a big inversion now, because I think now there's so many entertainment options between video games, movies, TV, streaming, social media. Music is just a thing in the background now. People just kind of vaguely pay attention to, you know, as they're driving somewhere or when they're doing something else.
Yeah, which again, technology and the corporate interests that the way the music business has changed and how people receive music.
Yeah. Also, you mean like that there's not actually a business of music anymore?
Yes. Well, I know that we weren't going to harp on the grunge apocalypse, but I'm going to give it a
shout out.
I'm going to give a shout out to the early 90s here. So Dreams by Fleetwood Mac is an example of a great 2-chord song.
Yeah.
Okay. So now here's how you don't do a 2-chord song. And I want you to, and Scott, I want you to name this band.
Wow, I can't wait how sloppy it is.
Oh, just wait.
I gotta tell you, I hate this. What is? I don't know what this is.
Think about it.
I got nothing, man. What is that? I would run screaming from the room listening to this. Oh, is that Nirvana? Yeah, please make it stop. Yeah,
You know what's great is that you can't tell it's not Nirvana.
yeah. Well, it sounds as shitty as Nirvana would sound. You know what I mean?
It's that would be the famous clip of Puddle of Mud.
Oh, okay.
One of the great bands.
No,
I think,
that's not true.
to which we were treated. And I mean, it's just, even if I played you the Nirvana version, it's shit.
You know what though? I gotta tell you, that's still miles better than Kanye. you know what I mean? So
I mean, different genres.
No,
okay? I mean,
no, we're talking about music, dude. That's
so that I mean, so what?
There's people with instruments playing guitar and singing there. You know,
before I knew who Kanye was.
Isn't it sad that you have to know who Kanye is?
Yeah.
It's a little depressing. Part of your brain has to know that. You know what I mean?
You know, I thought when Jesus Walks came out, I got it. I mean, I wouldn't elect to. I could understand why people liked that, but I mean, it was Ray Charles. It was just so the Bones. It's like it was Ray Charles music. It's like when people, it's like when people sample Rick James or James Brown. I get that, and
yeah, you should actually make your own music, though. I kind of think, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
maybe don't be terrible and actually learn how to play an instrument and actually be creative on your own.
That should be a topic for a podcast about how to have influences without plagiarizing.
Well, that's literally exactly play. It's like taking someone else's stuff literally. It's almost like people who take like clips of movies and TV shows and edit them together and say that's their original work. It's like, well, no, you didn't do any of that. That isn't your original work. You took someone else's work and claimed it as your own. You know what I mean? That is not being creative. I'm sorry.
And it's a different thing. There are it was just. We'll have to get in the weeds on that on a separate well, maybe not. Yeah. So the way I've heard it described is you have to understand all the sampling, and if you go back to the roots of hip hop, those were communities that didn't have resources, right? Like if you were a black kid in New York, then
Robert Johnson.
Oh, totally.
It doesn't get poorer than Robert Johnson. You know what I mean? It's
I'm just speaking about like rap and hip hop and the whole record spinning and stuff and the block parties. There is a culture and a community to that I think is cool. And I can understand if you lived in the project somewhere, then no one could afford to get you guitar lessons. There was definitely there's some nuance in the cultural environments that Robert Johnson came from. Which total oppression and it's horrible, and
only 50 years removed from slavery being
right, like total shit.
Yeah.
And then growing up in an inner city, and then all you have available to you are these records, and the whole community wants to get together and have a party. I'm with that. I wish the young people got together and partied.
I guess I have no issue with rap as a genre. You and I both talked about this before. There was very interesting rap going on into the early '90s. There was, I didn't love that because I want to hear music in my music. I want to hear musicianship and playing and improvisation and harmony. Because to me, anything that doesn't have those things will leave me somewhat cold. But I appreciate what they're doing, and it had an edge to it, and it was authentic, and it was cool. And I'm thinking about Ice-T, NWA,
absolute Public Enemy,
Eazy-E, that kind of stuff was like Ice Cube, that kind of thing. And those guys were all legit. I mean, and what they were singing about or rapping about was legit. And I think those guys were authentic. There was a period of like 5 or 10 years in the early '90s to like the mid '90s. There was even Snoop Dogg. I throw him in there.
Dude, Jay-Z. Listen to some of the early Jay-Z stuff.
And I think that
great stuff.
is stuff that's respectable, but I think
it's its own thing.
I look at Kanye and P. Diddy and people like that as like a bunch of
the P. Diddy thing.
But they're like hacks who are trying to make off someone else's stuff. You know what I mean? I
think that's when it got like really not awesome anymore.
Yeah, I mean, even like I listen to someone who's not terrible, like Kendrick Lamar or something like that. I'm like, but why still? Dude, you're rich now. Learn to play an instrument. Like, write your own music. Don't take other people's stuff. You know what I mean? It's like I get it. If you're starting out, you do what you do with what you have.
There's a big difference between taking a loop out of Sex Machine by James Brown, which was already heavily syncopated, highly rhythm focused music, and then using that rhythm to create a new thing melodically.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you're rapping, there's still
That's
notes
the
coming
thing.
out of your mouth.
When rap was actually had clever lyrics and very cool syncopation on the rhythms that they
Yeah.
were rapping, then I was musically interesting still. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But now, like with the stuff that they call rap, it's either like I got all the bitches, look at my money, or it's like
Which, okay, but if it were Poison saying, hey,
Poison
look at all the
plays
bitches in my
guitars
money,
and solos, and
then I'm
writes
down, right?
chords of harmony and stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
there's definitely, I think, something to be said for I'm gonna party and be rich and have chicks or guys or whatever.
Sure, I don't.
You
As
know-
long as it's like not your entire subject matter that you talk about, that's fine. You know what I mean? I think that if every song is that. But here's the thing that gets
Dude,
me crazy. Is,
I would much rather go see a Britney Fox concert than any shoegazing.
Oh, 1,000%.
Right, yeah,
I would probably even rather go see Kendrick Lamar over any shoegazing grunge band. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
totally.
So, but that being said, like the whole mumble rap thing, like it's just,
dude, have I
I've
got
heard
something
some
for
stuff that I just look at and like I don't even know what. I've been playing music professionally for 26 years, and I've never heard anything that I couldn't even define as music because I
It's
don't
like
even know
what's
what this
happening
is.
to rap and hip hop is what happened to us in the rock world.
Yeah, it's really true. It's like a bunch of. It's like a drum loop with someone rambling incoherently over the top of it.
So,
it's like and
yeah.
not even any syncopation, nothing lyrically that's clever. They're not even really rhyming the words. I don't even know what's happening. It's just like, is
So
this person
bad.
just talking and they just ran a mic? And
So bad.
It's like I don't get this. And
and it's starting. Now, have you had to encounter Machine Gun Kelly in your travels?
I haven't. I've actually purposely tried to. It's like an iceberg in the ocean. I try and not ever come across Machine Gun Kelly or Post
but
Malone.
sometimes that iceberg's unavoidable.
Oh, you got to find a way, man.
So
you gotta.
it's
If someone's student's like, hey, can I learn this post? Nope, you can't. We're gonna learn some AC/DC.
oh man, and you know it's there's
Tell me, what's your story? I can tell.
there's
something.
guitar in it. And there's another phenomenon here. The other band that is still huge among the young people is Blink 182.
Yeah, for some reason. I don't get that either.
I think people like Blink 182 and most Green Day songs because it's easy to play.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, it's unchallenging music. It's very sort of on a silver platter. Here you go. Here's the hook kind of music, which I
But
guess
at least there's a hook.
There's definitely hooks and melodies for
I've
sure.
definitely
you know?
softened my view on Blink 182 over the years.
Is it mainly because of the UFOs they got to you?
Yes.
Because Tom DeLonge famously,
Yeah, that's why I'm squirming around in my
famous
seat so much.
UFOologist
That kinda
or
hurts.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. That pro.
Yes.
God.
They didn't even bother putting the lube on and everything. They just right
Uh-huh.
in. I know it's. I don't know. I've heard. So.
Yeah. So the quote pop punk thing. Oh, and of course people toss around the term punk.
Yeah.
I mean, so to all of our listener out there, the punk is a phenomenon that was all wrapped up by 1982.
Yeah.
After that, it is not punk.
Yeah.
There is no new punk. Punk isn't punk. It might be punk influenced, but calling it punk, unless you were in New York or Los Angeles in the late 70s, early 80s in that scene.
Or London.
Yeah, London.
Yeah.
Well, or I mean, London's calling.
Yeah.
So, it's not punk.
Nope.
So, but the kids like it because it's easy to play. But hey, at least there's hooks.
Yeah, and they play guitars. You know what I mean?
And they
That's-
play. You
yeah.
hope that those are training wheels for
Yeah.
the student. That's
Someday
interested
you'll
in
play
those
something
bands.
more interesting. But yeah, but I would say they do check the boxes though. They are song focused, they are hook focused and melody focused. Then there's an edge to it. You know, I don't hate Green Day. Blink-182, I don't hate either. I don't have any particular
Yeah,
fondness for
totally.
them. I wish they actually played better than what they do. But that was the time. You know, you couldn't play good in,
There
in
is
that time period.
There is one band from that scene that actually isn't too bad. That they are or were called Sum 41.
Yeah, I know those guys. Yeah,
For that genre, they're not bad.
and they actually played solos too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's some interesting stuff being played, and the songs have structures.
Yep.
And
You know,
anyway.
there's another band that I liked from that time period called Fuel as well. That was actually a pretty good band. It's a funny story. When I did the one time I did the sound check for the Stairway to Stardom thing. Guest vocalist was the former singer from Fuel.
Oh
And-
yeah, that buff little dude.
And I remember I was trying to sound check with him, and he's like, "Hey man, do you know any Fuel songs?" And I literally said to him like, "Oh yeah, I used to teach a few songs back in the '90s, and people haven't asked about them since." So.
Oh shit! I'm sure that went over well.
Yeah, but I think I remember Hemorrhage. I started playing like the song Hemorrhage. Like, I
Wait,
remember-
are they the Let the Bodies Hit the Floor guys?
No, that's Drowning Pool.
Oh,
They're
I'm
that,
glad I didn't know that.
They're kind of like more poppy. They're more Creed than they are Drowning Pool. But they were really, they actually played some stuff that had some interesting hooks and some cool guitar parts in it. I think, they played, I think, what was it? Shimmer is another song they did. There's like Shimmer and Hemorrhage are two of their hit songs. They were one of the more tuneful bands from that time period. You have to remember, I was at full Rage Fest back in like '99. I hated everything that was coming out. And it's like, I remember, there's hooks and there's melodies in this. This is okay. I can
just watch the Woodstock '99 documentary on Netflix, and that's the late stages of what happened to music in the 90s and the kind of fans that it attracted.
Yeah.
That docu-series right there. And there's another one on another streaming service. I can't remember which one it is, but I think maybe it was on HBO. I don't know.
And by that time, I think all the people who were like into fun music were in country now at that point. They were listening to kind of like...
They all went to country and hip-hop.
Like Luke Bryan and stuff. And like, yeah, exactly.
A bunch of yokels with two first names.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what I'm saying? Like, but they're playing fun party music, sort of, that people could like, go, yeah, there's a melody and a hook here. So yeah, sure, they're singing about their truck, or
but
they're singing about the lake that they went and sat at, or something like that. But I mean, that's something that people can relate to, and hooks and melodies, and it's I get it. But it would have been better if it had been rock.
Oh my God, my student was tuning up with an open G chord, and this was early in her lessons, and I think I just said something encouraging like, "Hey, that's a good sounding G chord. You could write a country song with that." And she looks up at me and she starts strumming the G chord and says, "Trucks, trucks, 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 trucks." I'm like, cool, let's pick another
down
chord.
by the lake, trucks, trucks, trucks.
I'm like, let's pick another chord like your open D chord. And she strums the open D chord and says, corn, 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 corn. So that's our country song. Trucks and corn, trucks and corn.
Yeah, it sounds like a good breakfast cereal, actually.
Yeah.
Trucks and corn.
Corn
Delicious.
trucks.
Corn trucks.
Dude, I had a bowl of corn
now
trucks
part of a
for
complete
breakfast this morning. Totally, man, totally. So, so the pop punk, you at least hope they... Like when I was a kid growing up, Black Sabbath was rock training wheels.
Yeah.
Power chord riffs,
Scorpions
riffs,
to a degree,
and
too.
Scorpions to a degree.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then when you got a little bit better, maybe you could take on some Randy Rhoads or some Van Halen stuff. Even Dawkins.
Well, you know what I find was interesting though about what the kids are listening to? Like I have, it's either one or the other. People who are into, three things. I got people who like the prog boy bands, who are the really good musicians I teach. Then I have a bunch of people who only like classic stuff. Like they listen like Fleetwood Mac, Iron Maiden, Metallica, Doobie Brothers, Rolling Stones, Sabbath, all the classic metal, like with Scorpions and Maiden and Megadeth and Slayer and Metallica and stuff like that. But then I would say a good chunk are people who don't really like musical music, if that makes sense. They like stuff that's like, Selena Gomez and Marshmello and stuff. And I mean, it's very challenging to get people like that excited about being a musician because none of the music they listen to have any musicianship whatsoever.
Yeah.
So like you're just begging to find a chord in there somewhere or a chord change, and usually it's like three chords going on some kind of synthesizer that there's not really any live instruments anywhere.
Yeah, there's always going to be the teeny bopper. Going back to Leif Garrett.
I got a lot of those. Like a lot of my students who are young girls who are, that's all they listen to is like Selena Gomez. Well, no, that's over, dude. Justin Bieber's women in their 30s now.
Wow.
So it's like literally like that. And then there's people who are into like, Taylor Swift's always a go-to. A lot of them like Taylor Swift.
Oh, the Taylor Swift stuff's great.
Demi Lovato, Selena Gomez. I'm trying to think, Rihanna. That kind of stuff,
Hey, Nuno Betancourt toured with Rihanna.
He did, but you know what? It's very challenging to teach a guitar player a Rihanna song and have it sound like the Rihanna song. It starts sounding like a alternative rock song when you play it on guitar, and it's like I always think it'd be really great if the music you liked had any guitar in it.
Yeah,
then it would probably be more satisfying for you to listen to.
Because sometimes I take the angle, like, okay, look, there isn't any guitar in this song. But let's say that you just got hired to be the touring guitar player for this band. You'd have to come up with a part. Let's do that together.
Yeah. Well,
let's
we'll just make it a guitar song. That's
let's make it a guitar song.
But when you do that, what ends up happening though is it doesn't sound like the original anymore. It sounds like a guitar song. It sounds like something
better.
Sounds like it does, but to our opinion, it sounds better. But to them, it starts.
But I mean, our opinion is
it
totally
starts
correct.
sounding something totally different. Like, because this is on guitar now. This is not basically a synth pad with a drum loop. This is you playing it on guitar like a real musician would.
If it's non-guitar popular music, I wish more people would listen to Alicia Keys.
Yes, or anything that's got some substance at all to it.
Totally.
Actually, what's one of the craziest things I've had people start asking for is sea shanties.
Yarr.
I had to teach the Wellerman the other day to one of my students.
Wow.
It's like it's literally like, I once was a man who went to sea. The name of the ship was the Ballylozy. It's like, and I'm like going, what are we doing here? Like we're really taking time to learn how to play this sea shanty on guitar. It's like
At least I would feel like, well, there's something to learn here.
I just try and meet them where they are, and then try and tie it back into the understanding the basics of guitar playing, so they can kind of grow. Because I just pray to God that that's the phase they're going through. And I keep thinking, like, you realize we could be playing like Ozzy and Metallica and Van Halen right now, right? You know that we're playing the sea shanty.
Or Led
I could be teaching you how to play Running with the Devil right now.
Boston,
yeah,
or 38 Special.
We could be doing the Trooper by Iron Maiden, but we're doing the Wellerman, the sea shanty. What are we doing?
I wonder if I'll have to ask my quote punk authority at work, who's a great guy, good buddy of mine. He's way into Flogging Molly.
Oh yeah, it's like an Irish band, right?
Yeah, so okay, Irish jig, sea shanty. I don't know. I'm gonna have to do my music history research.
Yeah, it's kind of like Dropkick Murphys sort of thing.
Why is it always about drop kicking or flogging somebody?
Well, Ireland's a harsh island, lad. It takes lots of Guinness to get through.
Okay, that's insane.
You cannot just show up to work without the Guinness, and next thing you know, you get kicked in the nuts by someone. The Murphy bed, falls on you.
Yeah,
I come from Irish stock, so
I'd have a better Irish accent, but I just recently switched from Lucky Charms to Corn Trucks.
Oh, Corn Trucks is delicious, though. I made the right decision, man.
But I've got a good yokel accent.
Now with frosting, them got some frosting on it. Pesticide, but they call it frosting. Them frostings got all kinds of chemicals that makes you strong. I hear. Now with minerals and such.
And such. So here's, maybe this will be the grand finale, but so just for all you music fans out there, if you have teenage kids, there's a logical de-evolution. And,
okay.
I just had this request a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, so is this like the bottom? Is this scraping the bottom of the barrel?
I think it is. I think this is like the end.
End of times. This is the end.
Yes. So get ready for this song is called Hollywood High 16.
Okay.
By Pop Tropica Sluts.
I've never heard of this band. Okay.
All one word, all lowercase with an exclamation point.
Tropica Sluts?
Pop Tropica Sluts.
Is that like a Twitter handle or something? I'm like, oh my.
Dude, I don't know.
Yeah. All right.
Here we go. This is what the kids are listening to.
Yeah. Wow, it's like Blink-182 and like Horrible EDM had a baby or something.
And like, why are the vocals auto-tuned?
Because they're so complicated. That's kind of like, that's like Queensryche stuff they're trying to sing there. So of course they're.
Yeah, I mean, you could just sing it.
Yeah.
I can't sing. I could probably sing this.
It sounds like he's really just talking the lyrics more than singing. Yeah. I guess it's sort of melodic.
The melody hasn't changed since the song started.
Yep. Can we embrace the sweet embrace of death so we can make this stop, please? Please, the love of God, if there's any mercy in the world. I'll tell you whatever state secrets I know. I will tell you right now if you stop that.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Whatever
the CIA could use this.
I will absolutely give up whoever I have to give up.
I guess is this
to please make it stop. Oh my God!
Wow,
that's yeah. That's like, what's funny? It reminds me if you took like Blink-182 and like I don't know, Marshmallow, and they had a baby, and then you took 60 photocopies of that baby. That's what that would be. It's like
yeah, it's.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible, man. I gotta tell you. Yeah, I mean, I think what we're trying to say more than anything is that we're living in the end times.
And
clearly,
here, check this out. Tell me if this is.
Oh God, are we gonna do this?
we gotta run through the. I need to get this off my chest,
okay.
Scott.
This is basically like you're just an exorcism. You gotta get it out.
So then there's
other people need to know your pain.
So initially, I'm like, okay, there's guitar.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
It's been 6 days since the last time I saw your face. said you asked my sign, I told you mine. I questioned why, and you said everything's aligned. On the first day you told me.
That's exactly the kind of thing that, like,
Dude.
you, when you're 15, think is deep. You know what I mean?
Maybe
There's a reason the advertisers only care about the 18 to 35 group, because that's when you're too dumb to actually know what good and bad stuff is.
I don't
know?
remember ever being this dumb.
No, you and I are outliers, though. Most people we knew were dumb. You know, they would
I don't know. My friends weren't this dumb.
I had tons of friends who were this dumb.
Well,
I was
I
also
mean-
a jock in high school, too, though. I think that's probably part of what it was.
I mean, I've got friends who have bad taste. Shout out to my buddy Jason out there. Shout out to Jason Giori out there. I love you to death, buddy.
Under the
So
bus.
I've got
those
friends
wheels
who
on-
have bad taste, but yeah,
I know,
the
I
song's
think-
still going.
I think, yeah, but there's no reason it should be going.
No, there's not.
It's got to stop, man.
We're 1 minute and 12 seconds in,
Yeah,
and nothing has
nothing's changed. I know.
Nothing has changed.
But we don't understand he's expressing his pain from his soul, or what would the
I
place
don't
that would
know
be his
what.
soul.
Fuck, I don't know. God, like.
Look, I can
And
tell you
here's
right.
the thing: I know Machine Gun Kelly's rich, so cheer the fuck up, dude.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's not going to sell though. You gotta. That's why Taylor Swift is perpetually broken-hearted. Like, I don't.
Yeah, but Taylor Swift writes songs with melodies.
That's
and
true. She used to, at least.
Remember when we were growing up? So it's common to chart out song structure using letters to represent, right?
Yeah,
Versus,
A B C A B song structure.
Yeah, and for years, people would lament the abacab song structure.
Yeah.
Well, now the popular song structure is
Yeah. Or A, and then some point way later B. Yeah, kind of thing. Yeah.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
It's just
I gotta tell you though,
yeah.
I would push back on the people aren't. Dude, I didn't know too many people at all when I was in high school, or who aren't in the music world, who have strong feelings about music. They just listen to whatever comes. They really just whatever's in front of them, I'll eat that. It's almost like if you live in a town and all you have is McDonald's, then McDonald's is fine. I'll eat McDonald's. That's cool. That's
and there's just that one kid in the small town who has to dance.
yes.
And no matter what you do, no matter what John Lithgow does,
Yep. It's true.
Yeah.
No matter how many Bigfoots John Lithgow tries to bring in.
Kevin Bacon's gonna dance. Goddamn it!
Yep. He's gonna dance in a warehouse too.
Right?
Yes. Yep.
Absolutely.
That's true.
Yeah, I
But-
don't know. I mean, music was important to me and my friends. We now not all of them were into the rock or the metal, but I had a whole group of friends who were into bands like the Smiths. And Johnny Mars is an awesome guitar player.
I am jealous of
Those
that. I
songs
really
are
am.
interesting, and we'd go to all ages dance clubs and sometimes not all ages dance clubs after we got fake IDs.
Yeah.
Because that worked. Yeah, man.
I'm
don't know.
jealous because I never had any friends who were passionate about music. Everyone I knew who was in the music is because I forced them to be in the music, that kind of thing. But it's like nobody I knew was like, yeah, I really love this or that. They're just like, whatever, man, it's cool. Like when Nirvana came around, I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is shit. What is going on? I remember thinking that line from Zoolander, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I spent like the entire back half of the 90s saying I feel like I'm taking crazy pills because everybody's like, oh, isn't this band Temple the Dog amazing? I'm like, no, they're terrible.
No, they're not.
I don't think Disturbed isn't good either. That's not metal. Stop calling it metal. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I just
Dude, a temple for a dog, that's where the dog poops.
yep, it's true.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's the
I agree.
temple in the backyard is where it poops.
But you know what I'm saying? Like I feel jealous that you had friends that actually listen to
Yeah,
music. and were
all of
passionate
my
about
friends, they totally. I had a whole group of friends that were into New Order and the Smiths, all the new wave stuff. But still interesting, great. I still love all that music. And
Yeah,
there
really,
were
honestly,
places to go every week.
Up
and,
through about
yeah.
93, there was actually really interesting music being made in almost every genre. And then something
Yep.
happened like 93, 94, 95, and everything just kind of fell apart. You know what I mean? It's
Yep.
just, it's almost like they just decided, oh, we're not going to try to make good music anymore. We're just going to put out whatever, and
Yep.
you'll just take that, and that's fine.
Yep, the
You
record
know?
company executives found something easily to reproduce, and it hit the rock music world.
First,
First,
because rock
and
music was the
hardest.
top. That was the
Yep.
top of the thing, and then it just fell. And then because there's a void of power, everyone, the hip hop and country, used that void and said, now we're going to be the big thing. And
Yep.
and I think because country, there's like an overtone of sort of like I don't know, gentle racism in the country music world. Where it's like,
well, and a
yeah.
celebration of anti-intellectualism.
Yeah.
I don't want to listen to a song about, well, I'm just a regular guy.
Yeah, exactly. I got friends in low places.
fuck.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Because I
Yeah.
just wear boots to my all that, and I drive my pickup.
Yeah,
it's like
say what you will about all the '80s rock bands singing about partying and fucking.
yeah,
like you
driving
can,
fast.
Yeah, you can party and fuck and not be an idiot.
Yeah, it's true.
but the modern country music scene, and we're talking about the corporate country, the modern stuff.
Well, the
It's
old
just
stuff is very, very got this overtone of like Southern religiosity too, like the old school, like the people like pre Charlie Daniels kind of country. That's
Charlie Daniels.
You know what I'm saying though? There's this sort of like almost like religiosity, kind of Southern religiosity to it, kind of from Southern gospel music that kind of mixed with like hillbillyness. You know what I mean?
If you want to take it back to its roots, it's the sound of poor white people.
Yep.
And
farmers in Oklahoma got nothing. You know what I mean?
Right. And if all the and there are great stories of the poor people of different ethnicities collaborating, right? Like country music wasn't always what we have today, which is kind of white nationalists.
It's the stuff that's mainstream is just pop music. Really, at the end of the day, it's not even
pop music for a certain demographic.
Yes, exactly. Hey, it's going to be safe for all you people who really don't like people of other colors. You can come listen to this.
Right, totally.
There's sort of this like almost like a wink and a nod about country music.
Rock.
Yeah, exactly. There's not going to be others here. It's going to be all people like you. You know what I mean? And and that's it's pretty gross.
So to end on a positive note, I do have a good number. I mean, most of I love all of my students.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely, to death. And it does seem that they aren't just committed to one genre of music. So full disclosure, this is what the kids are listening to. This stems from recent requests.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the only thing that these students are listening to. Some have preferences one way or another, and they're always receptive to what I have to show them.
I'm always really encouraged to how much classic music that's from 40, 50 years ago that they still love. Yep. And it's like, that's great. That's, to me, that shows me that those classics are going to be classics 20 years from now, 30 years, 40 years from now. I'm sure there's going to be some kid learning a Jimi Hendrix song in 2060. You know what I mean? It's going to happen. You know what I mean? And
that's right.
I think that when you're in the middle of it, you can't notice it. But I think like when, we were very fortunate to have grown up at a time, like when we were really little kids in the late 70s, really our childhood through the 80s, and then we're teenagers in the 90s. We actually got to see a lot of the great music that really ever happened. I think now looking in hindsight, you realize, wow, that was a moment, that little 50-year window from like 1950 to like 2000, where like some of the best music ever made is made. And it's been
like 1950 to exactly like whenever 93. The first Nirvana album came out.
Like 93.
Yeah. Just the day that album was released. Yeah.
It's like the bomb going off. But we were lucky enough to have been there. I mean, we actually grew up like hearing that music.
Nevermind was the Kennedy assassination of music.
I always kind of think more like the asteroid from the dinosaur extinction, from the Cretaceous extinction.
Yeah, just something hugely negative and destructive.
Yeah, but totally. It destroyed everything in its wake, and nothing really recovered the same ever again. You know what I mean?
True.
I kind of see it like that. It was like that was the asteroid, and maybe there's some dinosaurs hung on for a while, but then eventually died when the sun was obscured by the dust that kicked up and the radioactive material.
I think we've just recapped what crawled out of the caves after the fallout. So I guess so there's that. But as far as that time in history, so you need to see the Randy Rhoads documentary this week.
Yeah, we're going to have a whole podcast talking about the Randy Rhoads documentary. It's going to be really interesting. You don't want to miss that because I'm a giant Eddie Van Halen guy, and Ryan is a giant Randy Rhoads guy.
Giant Randy Rhoads guy.
I believe that our friendship is proof that these things can coexist, and you can actually have people who love. And that being said, I love Randy Rhoads too. I think Randy Rhoads is awesome. I don't have anything bad to say about Randy Rhoads. I'm more of an Eddie guy, but that's just.
And that's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's probably why we're good songwriting partners.
Yeah, it's true. It makes sense. From a different way. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to this podcast about what the kids are listening to. Hopefully you learned about something that the kids are listening to, and hopefully we didn't end on too negative of a note. Things are gonna be okay, people.
Yep, it's all gonna
sun rises tomorrow. Find people to love and enjoy them and be a good dude.
Yep.
And
cheers
girl
to that. And soon we'll have the socials up.
Yep.
And the Ex Aegis album
should be dropping this fall.
Yeah, should be dropping this fall, so you'll be able to find it. And cool.
All right, later guys. Thanks.
Peace.